Chapter 34. J. Gentle winds had ushered in a fresh batch of clouds to shroud the night sky once more. This darkened the ocean somewhat, but the fluorescent wildlife remained, and it was more than one sea creature. Yellow and white basket-sized jellyfish with long spiraling tendrils endlessly pulsed along, while blue and teal illuminated fish seemed to dart in and among the tendrils. They were nibbling something from under the caps of the jellyfish, but it could not be seen what. Some of the lights started to wink out, and Jacob could see dark shadows gliding across the ocean. They were hard to make out, but he saw one close move toward a jellyfish and then bite it, tearing and then swallowing it while the little fish scattered to a nearby jellyfish. Sharks. More and more lights started winking out as they fed. The cycle of life, I suppose, thought Jacob. But he couldn't help but feel a bit somber as more lights kept disappearing. Wow, bro. Manu had woken up. Hey, everyone, wake up. You're going to want to see this. Everyone did, except Brennan, who grumbled something about not wanting to be bothered. For minutes, everyone just watched, and then Jessica broke the silence. I wish Marcia could have seen this before. She closed her lips and shook her head. Everyone quieted and simply watched the colorful display, lost in their own thoughts. Jacob's mind had already drifted away and come back, started to drift in a more practical direction. He tried to remember what he could from the map. 7 days, Obbs had said, until the currents reverse. It had already been 3? 4 more days then. There was definitely some warning about the next island. Damn, what was it? After, it was an area with many smaller islands and then a long, multi-day section of ocean before the trade post. I can't remember any of the notes he wrote. Then Ina got to her feet and stared ahead of the raft. She wrinkled her nose and squinted. She backed up to the pile of bamboo wood and stood on it, then looked again. She looked at Manu standing next to her. Don't move. Huh? She went around him and climbed up his back, perching on his shoulder, and then carefully stood up. She looked again. The ocean in front of us is completely dark. Is there just a lot of sharks over there? She watched a bit longer. No, they are actually veering off to the sides. Jacob got a bad feeling about this. He knew there was something he was forgetting about this third island coming up. Okay, guys, there's definitely a warning from Obbs about the next island. I think we're supposed to avoid it. If the wildlife are veering away, we should try to follow them. Let's unfurl the sail. I think we should also use some of the remaining bamboo to make some oars. Jacob eyed Brennan's sleeping form. We'll need to use the leftover vines to hold them together. Ina, show the others how to tie them together. Jessica spoke. Jacob, is it not worth at least trying to stop to see if we can find food or water? We are out of both. Water is most concerning. Jacob nodded. After this one, there will be another area we can stop, I think. Without Obbs' actual notes, I don't think it's worth the risk. I agree. Better to go hungry and thirsty than to encounter an unknown danger and ignore a warning. Lou redirected his attention to Ina, who seemed to be standing extra straight as she started showing the others how to tie the bamboo. Jacob went and unfurled the sail himself. It took a few moments to find where on the raft to stand to catch the wind, and then started to position the sail to veer the raft to the left. After a few minutes, Jacob noticed the waters in front of the raft had fewer and fewer of the jellyfish, tapering down to nothing. Guess I didn't go left hard enough? He repositioned for more leftward steering. He could now clearly see the area to the left nearby where the jellyfish were still present, like a dimly lit highway at night. Much further away to the right, he saw the ones that had veered to the right. That's strange, he thought. He had been adjusting more and more of the angle to move the raft further left. But they weren't getting any closer to the lights. He squinted. It actually looked like they were starting to pull away. There has to be a current here. That means the wildlife is intentionally avoiding, or they would be pulled in. Jacob got a bad feeling about this. Guys, are the oars ready? Everybody to the right side of the raft and start paddling. Why? Said Jessica. I think the current is bringing us somewhere bad. Look at the jellyfish. If they are trying to avoid it, so should we. Let's paddle until we catch back up with them. Everyone sat down on the right side of the raft and started splashing with the bamboo oars. They weren't very good for the job. Water would slip through the cracks between the separate bamboo shoots, but the raft did start to move closer to the illuminated lane. The rowers themselves were also not very good. Jacob noticed Manu had entered a rhythm of long, powerful strokes with a pause as he brought it out of the water and back to the front. He was maintaining a tempo you could keep time to. Everyone else looked like they were just kind of splashing the water with short, sporadic strokes. A faint shh sound started to be audible in the darkness. As it started to grow in volume, Jacob realized it must be the unseen island nearby. They still had not yet rejoined the jellyfish. Our progress looks slower. Are people getting tired? Or was the current? Manu, show the others how you are rowing and keep tempo. Guys, we are getting close, but the current is getting stronger. Let's focus up and push through. Manu nodded. Okay, Ina. Let me sit on front so everyone can see me. They swapped places. Okay, bros. Watch the person in front of you and match their timing. Loose grip. Try to rotate your torso as you pull. Smooth and consistent. Don't go as hard as you can. Manu started to overemphasize and slow his movement so everyone could follow him. If you miss a stroke, just wait for the next one. Don't rush it late. Okay. Reach. Manu leaned forward, extending his paddle over the water in front of him, then gently entering it as a full extension, or at full extension. Pull! Then he used his core, back, and shoulders to leverage the paddle through the water. After a few strokes, he looked behind him to check everyone. Ina, don't extend so far forward, and end the stroke before you pass your hip. Your range of motion will be smaller than me, but that's okay. I'm a bigger guy. Ina adjusted her form, and Jacob noticed so had Jessica and Lou, who had been listening. Reach! Pull! Jacob was surprised at how quickly they had went from looking like kids splashing around in a pool to a fluid, synchronized effort. The raft was moving significantly faster to the lane of lights in the water. The shh sound had grown into intermittent of waves crashing off to the right. He thought if he squinted, he could make out a large mass of land starting to take form. As they finally rejoined the very edge of the school of light jellies, Jacob could make out more of the island ahead and to the right. Part of it jutted out and rose upward enough that its shadow was outlined by the backdrop of lit ocean behind it. The sound of waves crashing was now much louder and seemed to be right next to them. Okay, guys, we made it to the edge of the lane. The island is right next to us. Let's see if we can keep paddling to create some distance. There's a part ahead we need to clear. As they got closer to the outcropping, it looked like some of the light jellies were moving out of the lane and intentionally beaching themselves on the island? Huh? Jacob watched as they approached. His eye tracked a jelly 10 feet in front of the raft. It was pulsing along, path adjacent to the outcropping. Then he saw a dark tendril extend towards it, and it was snared and pulled towards the beach. Oh, shit. Manu, faster! Something's in the water. Come on, bros. Reach! Pull! Reach! Pull! Reach! Pull! The outcropping was coming up fast as the waves pushed them into it. The rowers' faces were glistening with sweat and determination as they adhered to Manu's tempo. We're going to clear it, Jacob thought. Then a tendril reached up from the depths and wrapped around the edge of Ina's oar. It had caught at the end of a pole, and as she held the oar tight, it pulled her off balance and toward the water. Ina shouted in surprise. Lou, who was just behind her, snatched out his hand and grabbed a fistful of her hoodie. Her head was halted just out of the water as more tendrils rose and curled just under the water's surface. Her hands were already submerged. Drop the oar, Ina, Lou shouted as he strained to keep her from being pulled further in. I did. It's got my hands. Captain, grab this sword, quickly. Manu had pulled his oar out of the water and turned to help secure Ina. Jacob dropped the sail immediately, accidentally stepping on Brennan as he reached for the sword. Ow! Why have I been awoken? Brennan sat up, angry at first, and then pausing as his face slowly took in the scene before him. The shimmering lights all around, the struggle at the edge of the raft, the shouting. Oh. Jacob, now armed with the sword, leaned out over Ina. The dark thrashing water made it hard for him to see where he should cut. I can't see. Just cut it, human, Ina shouted, and suddenly her arms and hands turned bright fluorescent, and he could see exactly where they were. He felt hands around his waist stabilizing him as he leaned out over the water, dipping the sword in and making a sawing motion. He barely felt any resistance as he cut through the area just below her hands. Suddenly, Ina was released, and the force from Manu and Lou pulling her back sent everyone falling over toward the center of the raft, bowling over Jacob, who had been right behind them. In the commotion, more tendrils had started to wrap around some of the bamboo bundles at the raft's edge, anchoring it in place. While they shied away from the air, the ebb of the water sometimes revealed them above the water's surface, and they were seen to be kelp-like strands of seaweed. The raft was right at the edge of the outcropping, the lane of illuminated jellyfish only a few feet away, but they were firmly rooted in place. Grab what you can and try to dislodge it. Jacob started trying to sever the big swaths of kelp with his sword. He was able to keep his section free of the tendrils. Luckily, it seemed the tendrils could only reach the right side of the raft, for now. Unfortunately, he was the only one making progress. Lou and Manu only had their walking sticks and club, too blunt to really discourage the plants. Ina had her obsidian-edged stone, but it was so short she had to be careful with shallow cuts. Jessica looked scared, standing back from the edge of the raft, wide-eyed. Jessica, it's okay. Take over the sail. We're going to get through this, Jacob said. His words seemed to bring focus back to her eyes, and she looked at him and gave a firm nod, then headed for the sail. Brennan was hunched over his plants. What was he doing? Brennan, help us! Stop shouting, Captain! I'm thinking! Aha! Brennan reached over and pulled some leftover eater vines into his pile. Couldn't hurt, he mumbled to himself. A few moments later, he jumped up. Okay, everyone! Well, not you, Jessica, stay on the sail, and not you, Captain, your blade is sufficient. Come, quickly, dip your sticks. Brennan was holding his shirt out with both hands, creating a pouch that he had filled with something. Lou was first and peered at the shirt. It contained some sort of gooey liquid. Brennan, what is that? Then went to dip his walking stick in. Wait! No, stupid! Use the oars, is better! Ina can use my oar. We don't have enough. Then Lou pressed his stick and twisted the coating coating the end in purplish blue liquid. Brendan also closed the shirt around it, rubbing the whole last foot of the surface. Next! Manu coated his. Next was Ina, who grabbed Lou's oar while she waited. In the momentary lapse in defense, enough tendrils had attached that the raft started to be pulled in. Lou was the first to use his now improved weapon, and this time, as he went to strike the kelp, at first nothing happened, but then the kelp started to shrivel and loosen. A tendril reached directly for his stick, but quickly retracted after making contact. It works! I knew it! Die, evil plants, die! Wait, can someone save me a sample? As the others joined in, slowly they were able to clear most of the edge of the raft, and it started to pull away from the island. Soon, no tendrils could reach, and the others used the oars, paddling until they were well within the channel of light and passing the island. Okay, everyone, I think that's good. Everyone paddling was breathing hard as they pulled them out of the water across their laps. They all looked at Jacob again. I think we're about halfway through the night. Ina and I have been up since yesterday. Brennan, you slept the most. Why don't you take the sail for the rest of the night? Absolutely not, Captain. As the most intelligent person here, it is imperative I stay most rested. Can you imagine if I had been sleep deprived during the attack? Well, I probably still would have, but what if I hadn't? No, I'm going back to sleep. Good night. Brennan didn't even wait for Jacob to respond before he turned to go back to sleep. Jacob didn't really know what to do now. Captain, I have slept enough. I can take the watch. Lou stood to take the sail from Jessica. Thanks, Lou. Okay, everyone, let's get some rest. If nothing happens tomorrow, I'll conduct some more interviews. Good work, everyone. Achievement, Abyssal Survivor. Captain, level 8. Oathkeeper, level 5. Skill, low light vision, nautical, obtained. Skill, father's encouragement, enhanced. Cleanse fear effect added. Captain, wake up. It was Lou's voice. Jacob groggily opened his eyes to the dim sunrise-lit ocean. The thieves' craft is on.